Parashat Chayei Sarah begins famously with the declaration or the summation of Sarah Imenu's life. Vayu Chayei Sarah mea shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sarah. Sarah's lifetime was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. These were the years of Sarah's life. And it's obvious, even immediately, really, once we read this pasuk, that it seems to be unnecessarily verbose, very wordy. And the actual construction of the pasuk actually gives rise to two questions that are brought by Rashi. The first question I'd like to start with is why the repetition of Chayei Sarah? The pasuk begins Vayu Chayei Sarah, and then after listing how many years Sarah was when she died, the pasuk repeats Shnei Chayei Sarah. These were the years of Sarah's life. So this initial question gives rise to Rashi, again all from Chazal, famously answering that the reason it's repeated was not just to tell me how many years Sarah lived, but in fact, Kulan Shavin Latova, that all of them were equally, it seems, blessed, or good, or wonderful. Kulan Shavim Latova, not just living a long life, but a full and rich and wonderful life. Kulan Shavin Latova. The problem with this, however, is that if we just go back to the stories of Sarah's life that we've been reading about, this seems patently untrue. After all, Sarah faced many difficulties and crises in her life. She was barren for many, many decades, which caused her incredible pain. To make matters worse, her maidservant conceives right away, loses respect for Sarah. You can imagine how difficult that must have been on a human and emotional level for Sarah. She suffers through famine, and she's kidnapped twice. So how could Rashi possibly say Kulan Shavin Latova? Obviously there were high points in Sarah's life, but let's be honest, it wasn't Kulan Shavin Latova. Perhaps the answer to this question lies in understanding the second question, or the second problem, which is perhaps more famous, and that is the question that Rashi also brings, why the Torah breaks up the 100, the 20, and the 7. Why does it say that Sarah lived mea shanim ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim? Why not just say mea ve'esrim ve'sheva shanim? Right? That's how we would all normally say it, and even in biblical Hebrew it would be fine. 127 years. Why say 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years? So to this question, Rashi also gives a well-known answer that is describing different stages of Sarah's life and different virtues. That when she was a bas kuf, when she was 100, she was like 20 in terms of sin. Just like a 20-year-old is innocent of sin, even at the end of her life, even when she was 100. And similarly, says Rashi, when she was 20, she was like 7 when it comes to beauty. Obviously the beauty that Chazal here are describing is not the type of beauty we think of in our more crass secular world, where the idea of a 7-year-old being beautiful might be awkward or worse, but obviously a type of innocence and inner beauty that Sarah possessed as a young girl, she was able to retain even into her young adulthood, even when she was 20. This is the well-known expression of Rashi. And I'd like to highlight the fact that in a very wonderful drasha many years ago, Rabbi Soloveitchik suggested that in this interpretation of Sarah's virtues, what Rashi and Chazal are getting at are not just maintaining two specific virtues, physical / inner beauty and innocence from sin, but rather are highlighting something even deeper. And that is, Rabbi Soloveitchik says as follows: it's only natural that at different stages of a person's life, men or women, we have different strengths, different interests, different inclinations. Obviously, there can be exceptions, but speaking generically or generally, said Rabbi Soloveitchik, an older person is different in their drives and in their virtues and strengths than a younger person. Younger people typically are full of more idealism, more energy, more passion. Younger people are open to change. Older people, on the other hand, have different virtues and different strengths. More mature, hopefully more wise, have acquired wisdom, more thoughtful, more mature, as I said, stable. These are very, very different categories of strength or types of personalities. And the greatness of Sarah, of Soloveitchik suggested, is that she was able to combine and integrate the virtues of both of these different stages. It wasn't about beauty or innocence of sin per se, but rather what Chazal are highlighting is the natural strengths that a young person would have, Sarah had. But even as a young person, with all of her idealism and passion, she was blessed with the maturity and wisdom and good judgment of an older person. And even after Sarah got older and she reached into her hundreds, and she had all the wisdom and maturity and good judgment that comes with age, she still retained her youthful vibrancy, innocence, idealism, and openness for growth and religious change. She was able to integrate and harmonize both parts of her personality. In light of this understanding of the second question, it seems that that's perhaps most likely what Rashi meant initially as well. Kulon Shavin Latova should rather be understood not as all of her life was equally good or blessed in the sense of happiness, but rather Kulon Shavin Latova. All of the Tova, all of the wonderful virtues that Sarah possessed, she did so in an integrated fashion. She was able to take all of the wonderful virtues of a Bas Sheva and have those even when she was Bas Esrim, even when she was 20. And all of the combined virtues of a 7-year-old or a 20-year-old, she had even when she was 100. That combination of youthful exuberance and idealism combined with the wisdom and maturity and good judgment that comes from age, that is truly a rare combination. Rare and special is the person who can combine both of those stages of life, all of those different integrated talents into one seamless and beautiful and deep and spiritually inspiring whole. And that, as Soloveitchik explained, is what the Torah and Rashi are telling us at this opening parsha. Who was Sarah, who is now departing from the biblical stage? Who was Sarah Imenu? She was someone who was Kulan Shavan Latova. All of her virtues at 7 and at 20, she had when she was at 100, and the virtues of 100 she had when she was 7 and 20. She is certainly an inspiring role model for Jewish women and men of what it means to be an integrated and incredibly harmonized and balanced religious personality.